Hello, snowboarders of the internet. I'm your host, Avran LeFeber, and this is Top 5s, the only weekly Top 5 show that you're watching right now that you care about. I'm sure there's others, I don't really give a crap about them. Anyways, in this week's episode, we're going to talk about the Top 5 unwritten rules of the park. That's right. You got balls and suddenly decided you wanted to venture into the terrain park. Well, here's the rules that they didn't teach you. Yeah, listen up, beginners. Talking to you. Number 5, just because you bought a lift ticket does not entitle you to go into the terrain park. Especially those of you that are frigging absolutely oblivious. You are part of the problem. I get it, you spent a lot of money, you want to go explore, little Timmy's dragging you in there, little Susie wants to go in the half pipe or whatever the fuck it is, I don't care. It doesn't entitle you to go in there because you don't know the regular rules of the park, let alone the unwritten rules of the park. I see this all the time. Someone will get hit, their kid will get cut off, they get cut off, they want to pick a fight, they want to scream at someone, they want to yell at someone, they're bitching and moaning. I mean, I had a guy clip the tail of my board while I was doing a nose press on an unbow and tell me that I was in his way. I'm on a fucking feature, dude. You hit me from behind. I don't think he was expecting me to reach back and grab him and whip him right off the feature and then lay into him. But I did. And I let him know, and he took a swing at me, and so I popped him in the side of the head. And I was like, fucking think before you act. If you don't understand the rules of the park, don't go in there. Read the signs at the beginning. I know that's really hard. Reading comprehension is tough, especially if you follow Jonathan Buckhouse because he didn't learn how to read till he was in the 5th grade. So I assume you're on the same level as him. That's a tough one. I get it. But you need to understand those rules. And then you need to understand the unwritten rules. Because no one wants to see you die in there. But we're also not going to stop you from killing yourself. Number 4. The person downhill of you doesn't always have the right of way. So if you're downhill and you're crossing in a blind section under a lip, a knuckle, and no one can see you and you get taken out, that's your fault. You need to understand that. Just because you're downhill, no one saw you cross, you're the problem. You need to understand that. I can't tell you how many times I've been filming friends, I've been hitting a jump, come across like a hip or something, suddenly little Timmy and Susie or their dad is gaping out in the goddamn landing. They didn't think that one through. They just sort of just appear out of nowhere and they're in the landing and you have to figure out how not to kill them, which 9 times out of 10, land on them. You'll be fine, they'll die. Hate to say it, but that's how it goes. It's like my good friend, Angry Andrew Agar, one time, was hitting jump 3 in freeway. He's midair pulling a method, looks down, and there's a dad and his kids cutting right across the landing. He sucked his knees up, went over the guy's kid, starts yelling at him, telling him that, hey, you shouldn't be in here. And the dad's response, I bought a lift ticket, I can go wherever I want. And he's screaming at him, so I laid into him too. Don't be fucking clueless. Don't be. Park flow is not linear. You need to understand that. Number 3, just because someone told you to call your drop doesn't mean you get to drop when you call it. You will probably get snaked. And get used to it. You're sitting around, you're a little apprehensive to drop, and then you're like, dropping! I'm gonna snake you, everyone else is gonna snake you. Why? There's park flow. We know what's going on, we know you're not gonna make it to the lip by the time we're already in the landing. Be assertive, make sure you make eye contact with everyone, because I see people that are like, call and drop as I'm already rolling in, and I'm just like, no, shake my head right at them. I'll cut you off. Conversely, if someone's in the beginner park and they're just learning how to ride, you do not snake them. You let them figure that out because that's how they're going to understand the unwritten rules when they get to the bigger park. You need to understand the hierarchy of the locals and you need to understand that there are people that are dropping way above you that cannot see you. Number 2, just because something has a lip does not mean that it's a jump. I see all you side jumpers there collapsing the lips to the rails. You see that rail in the middle? That's the landing ramp to that jump. You want to hit it and land on it. You going off the side when there's another rail, so I'm on it, and suddenly you're coming in like this, you're a jagaloon. That's not how it is. Conversely, jibs are also not benches. Stop taking your family in there and letting them sit. You know who you are. Pay attention to what the features are and how people are hitting them. Like I've said, park flow is not linear. People hit them a magnitude of different ways. And just because the lip's here, the rail, or the feature's here, doesn't mean that someone's not going to come in and hit it from the other side. There are multiple ways to approach it. You need to understand, just because it has a lip does not mean that it's a jump. Honorable mentions. All great options, but just barely didn't crack the top of this list. Back barrel rolls are not cool. You know, the backflip off your heel edge, where you don't really lay it out, you just sort of huck your meat. Yeah, it's not cool. I see people doing this one all the time off the weirdest hits. 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty sure they're gonna end up paralyzed because they just eat shit and die. Don't do that. Blocking the entrance to the park is a great way to tell everyone you're a friggin' dick. Standing around when it's got a tight gate to get in so no one can get by, you're either getting run over, you're getting sprayed, or you're getting pushed over. Don't cry about it. You're the one blocking the entrance for everyone else. You are the asshole. Move your ass along. The only times you should be standing on a knuckle are if you're checking to see if the landing's clear, you're filming and you're out of the way of people hitting it, or somebody has died and you need to close it off. Otherwise, there's no reason for you to be going in on the jumps in the big line and rolling up on the knuckle, standing around, watching people hit it, twiddling your goddamn thumbs, maybe thumb jacking your fart box, and then cutting across the landing in the way. There's no reason for that. You don't know what you're doing, don't go up on it. It's not a viewing deck. Anyways, these honorable mentions were great, but they just barely didn't crack this list. And the number one unwritten rule of the terrain park is the locals know more than you. There is a hierarchy. You don't understand this because you're probably on vacation or you rolled in from East Bumfuck, but there is a hierarchy and these locals do know more than you. There's a reason they're scoping a landing. They're scoping how much speed they need to go into a jump. They know more than you. They're paying attention, but there's also a hierarchy to it. You think you're gonna snake one of them? Not happening. You're calling drop, you're probably getting snaked. You're going slow into a feature, they're probably gonna cut you off and hit the end of it. Why? Because they know what they're doing. They have local knowledge. It might sound a little counterintuitive to other things that I said on this list, but that's the facts of it. They know more than you. They know what they're doing. They ride there every single day. It doesn't matter if you're in Mammoth, Copper, Stratton, or Big Snow, whether you're over in Austria or you're down in Australia. There's always locals that have a different approach to how to ride the park. Pay attention. Take your social cues from them. Be cognizant of how they're doing. Also, maybe say what's up. Talk to them. Ask them how much speed you think you need for a jump, or how is this rail sliding, etc., etc. They're probably going to tell you, be like, hey, you need a little more speed, or you need a little less, or the landing's a little steep, or the landing's a little flat. They know. Listen to them. Let them guide you, because it's going to make for a more enjoyable time in the terrain park. This has been my top 5 unwritten rules of the terrain park. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I forget one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this list. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.